were you saying about this song?
It's well, you introduced it to me. I can't take any credit for
Yeah,
it.
this is David Lynch. It's the super famous director, artist. There's nothing he hasn't done in his career that wasn't, I think, also successful. As not as the director career, but this is an album from 2011. The song is called "The Night Bell with Lightning." Just came up in my Spotify Discover Weekly the other day. I was like, wow, okay, I missed out.
We all missed out. It's a great track, though. What terminology do you use?
Very Lynch landscape. That's what I said.
Landscape.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely. Anyway, welcome everyone.
you.
Welcome. This is to everyone. This is Radio Panini, and you are listening to Nomadi, which is the show I have been doing for the past year right now. It felt like a long wait. I had the last show in August, 31st of August. Actually, it was a long time ago. I felt like I needed a little. I needed a little break to get to like a season 2. We spoke about this, no? Like a season 2, and I really like that you are the first guest of this season 2 because it's a show. I want to make this show about people, yes, but also I want to make this show talking more with people about stuff, and that's what I'm gonna do with you today. You are Charlie Fooks.
I am Charlie Fooks. Confirmed. Thank you.
Confirmed. Perfect. You're my friend, and you are also. I have to remember all the things that you are. So let's see if I remember everything. You are a mental coach.
You got it. Cognitive coach. Yep. Tick.
Perfect. With goal achievement for goal achievement.
Yeah. Personal development goal achievement.
Correct. Then you're also a music therapy researcher, which is a very interesting thing. And you also are creative on on a very large spectrum, right? Like in
I guess you could say that.
In many different ways.
Yeah.
We're gonna go through all these things. Do you know anything about this program?
About this program?
Yeah.
Nomadi?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's an interesting concept. I feel A, very blessed that you invited me to chat. And B, I think it's a really good space to be discussing because I think it's quite difficult for a lot of people to go against the grain and do something different. So talking about how people have done it and what their experience is like is really valuable. So power to you.
Thank you. And again, I'm really happy today to kind of have you and to talk about multiple things. I even brought my notebook here, and I think I never done that before.
It's a big day.
It's a big day. That tells a lot about the amount of things we need to go through today. You know how I like generally in season 1, how I like to do the show to talk about the nomadic experience of my guests through 3 phases, let's say 3 stages, which I call departure, arrival, and stay. And I would like to start talking with you also because we know each other, we're friends, but that's something that I didn't really know, and I didn't want to know also when we spoke the other day, which is about how did this experience. You are from UK, right?
Yes.
And how is your experience of your nomadic experience? If Copenhagen is just a stage of this experience, if you're gonna leave or you have been before somewhere else, what is your story? Tell me.
Who the hell am I? So actually, and she asked that before I came to Copenhagen, I was living in Latvia for a little bit, which was an experience. So started in London, studied in London, moved over to Latvia basically before I graduated, flew back for my graduation and was there for a little bit, which I think is probably the inspo as to why I ended up continuing to move. I think the classic for us is always greener. If you're from somewhere, it's not that exciting, and you kind of see maybe more of a negative nuance of that space than the sort of exciting, new, liberating opportunity side of it. So yeah, was in Latvia, moved back to London, remembered why I left.
The trigger, remember the trigger?
The trigger,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And at that time, actually, I had a fab job. I was editing photos of beautiful apartments in West London, really bougie office, making good money, really nice co-workers. Shout out to Brandon, angel photographer. And I was deeply unhappy, and it was the most conflictory thing. I was living this like best case scenario reality, and really, really, really unhappy.
What were you missing?
Freedom, in a word. I think that's probably the right way to put it. I think something about the feeling of despite the fact the job itself was great, like the feeling of having to be at a certain place at a certain time and doing something for someone else destroyed me.
We are hitting the spot here.
I don't think I'm alone in feeling like that, to be honest.
No, and we spoke about this thing in when we chat the other day. I'm happy to hear that there is someone that reacted on this feeling. I really feel also like that, but I wanna. That's also why I invite people, because I want advice on my own life. Or what should I do? And not make mistakes, maybe. So what was your decision? You took your decision to move away from that stable, let's say, stable life
absolutely.
with everything you needed, but you were missing this freedom aspect, which is something that then you found here in Copenhagen, or when you already when you went from Latvia back to London at this job, and then you moved here to Copenhagen, right?
So I think you're probably right. I think the freedom piece wriggled in when I was in Latvia. Again, had a decent job, was doing fun things, but something about like being in a new environment and meeting different people and being in a completely different culture and learning new stuff was so liberating and exciting. And then going back to normal life in the city of London was so debilitating for me. So so I would go on little mini breaks. I took like pretty much every weekend I'd go somewhere in Europe. And Copenhagen was the most random thing ever. I literally put on Facebook a status in the days of Facebook. I put, does anyone want to go away this weekend? And my friend from school, who I hadn't seen in 10 years, wrote me like, Copenhagen? And then we met at the airport and came.
That's crazy. And then it ended up to be like, how long have you been here?
So actually this year's going to be 10 years.
What?
Which is insane. Yeah,
damn.
Totally wild.
Okay. That's a lot of time. I guess now it's kind of do you feel like you fulfill that need you had when you moved from last time you moved from London? This feeling of freedom and this feeling of finding some place that belongs to you, or some place where you feel more like you are in a good place. And what was this? What gave you this feeling here in Copenhagen?
I think, that's a great question. In terms of sort of a liberation piece, I feel like the system is very supportive. As a collective, community is very important to the society as a whole, but I think the individual is really well nourished in this system. Like, you can be a bit of an oddball weirdo, out of nowhere type person, and that's like quite well received. People actually kind of enjoy the weirdos.
Oh, you're weird. Can we be friends?
Exactly.
I like that. Yeah.
So I think there's something in that space. Also, there's just various bits of the city that really appealed to me, like the bike culture and the scale, and this very much, for me, this city is an absolute village. Like, this is the smallest capital city.
I agree. You're like, everything is so close, and I mean that's a big part coming from London, where instead you live in a neighborhood, and you still are like, oh fuck, you're on the other side of the neighborhood. I'm not gonna come there. It's gonna take me 2 hours. No.
Totally, and it's this thing about planning and logistics, and you're just exhausted all the time. Like here, you can pretty much meet anyone within a 15-minute time window. Yeah. Depending where they're living.
I have actually a question related to the idea. I think I probably pitched you into this question already, but it's quite an important question. Yeah. This thing of like the departure, no, the idea of living, is it because of some kind of like escape? Is it an escape move to move somewhere when you decide to take this decision of not just like move for, I don't know, a month or whatever, but like to take this decision of taking everything you have and trying to invest all your energies, your money into something new somewhere else? Is it an escape move, or is something positive? It's not. I mean, escape is not necessarily something negative, but is it the escape, the word that you would say?
Yeah, I think escape is actually quite accurate at that point of my life. I was genuinely really, really unhappy, needed something was kind of in this mentality of like, is this it? Is this going to be life forever? Like, I can't do this. It's not going to work for me. So I was desperate to escape to something. I didn't know what or how or who, but I knew the current situation wasn't working for me. So I think escape is probably quite an accurate terminology. But you're right, it does have negative connotations. But maybe I was seeing London pretty negatively. I did need to get out of them. So yes, very much coming from this space of escape and desperation, but actually when I moved over here, it wasn't kind of that space anymore. It wasn't desperation, it wasn't a need, it was a excitement, a sort of big wide eyes, bushy tail type energy, you know? So it shifted quite quickly, but definitely started as an escape, for sure.
Do you still see Copenhagen with like new eyes? You know, like when you move somewhere and you don't really know the commute to a place, and then you enjoy every bit, every corner. Do you still see this place as with these kind of eyes, or now it's more like I've been here enough to kind of feel like it's, you know, it's where I've always been, basically.
I think
because I find a lot the excitement of being somewhere when I have this feeling of, oh, I don't know what's going on in behind that corner, you know, or
I totally relate to that, exactly.
Yeah.
When I first moved over, it was so exciting because I knew nothing and no one and nowhere. And I guess it kind of goes in ebbs and flows. I think obviously with any city, particularly capital cities, there's always growth and change and evolution. So there is new spots and bars and things going on. Even actually, to be fair, the other day I was on a really long walk chatting to my mum on the phone, and I took a route I'd never been before. And I've been here for 10 years, so
it makes sense to do it sometimes. But this is one of the safest places in the world, so you were in danger.
Yeah.
I think I always ask my guests to prepare also something music related, because I mean we are in a radio. So we are supposed to talk, but we're also supposed to play some music to, first of all, to take a sip of water, but also, to enjoy, because I think music is often not always, but often a frame of a moment in life. Like sometimes I listen back to some music. I put a shuffle on my music, and then I listen back to some song I used to listen to, I don't know, 2 summers ago, and then I remember everything I was doing back then and what I was doing. So I always ask my guests to prepare something, and I want to know what would you play that is framing that moment of like when you decided to leave from London and come here.
I think a key point for me was that I was doing a lot of my own projects and designy worky just to like get feels out. Like I was getting frustrated with stuff, so I needed to do something. So I made this document at this period of time, which I actually posted on my Instagram the other day, and I synchronized a song to it. So that's the song that we're going to bring in here.
Okay.
So
I saw the boss, but I missed this part.
Well, you missed the main bit.
I missed the main bit. Crazy.
So this song...
is this one?
Yes, this is the guy. Definitely has those connotations that you mentioned for me. Like it brings back that feel of desperation, need to get out. But it's happy. Don't worry. It's upbeat.
There is no like. It's all about your emotions. What you had. Okay, let's go.
I love you so, but you don't feel like I do. Tell me what can I do? But I gotta be strong, girl. You did me wrong. I thought we were really down. I thought we were down. So you want me, girl? Make up your mind. 'Cause I'm not gonna be in for long. I'm not gonna be in for long. You got me twisted. Twisted, oh. Girl, you got me twisted. You got me twisted. Twisted, oh. Girl, you got me twisted. I thought we were really twisted, oh. Girl, you got me twisted. I'm not gonna be twisted, oh. Girl, you got me twisted.
We're listening to a great track. What is this, and why is it connected to that moment of
Why
your
is
life?
this part of it?
Yeah.
So this is the track that document that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
I designed it as a digital document.
Mm-hmm.
So I whacked it on the World Wide Web, and one of the first or second pages is basically demands people to press play on this track, and then they listen to said track whilst reading the document.
couldn't be a better track, I guess. I guess we're moving on to this like part where you basically decided to move, right? And then you arrived in Copenhagen. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, people are nice. Oh, I can get some money. Oh, I can have good food. Oh, wow, like great. I'm very curious about what were you doing when you arrived? What was what you started doing? Because you mentioned you were working in this like studio in London. What did you end up doing here in Copenhagen?
So when I had this little mini break with my mate for a weekend with Copenhagen, when I flew back, I knew that Copenhagen was the place. I had to move. 6 months later, I moved here, but in that time frame, I was trying to work out a reason because I couldn't really legitimately just move with nothing.
Yeah.
So I actually ended up finding a job in a fashion house randomly here in Copenhagen, in sort of the bougie bit of the shopping area. So I was there for a little bit, just helping out with basically like the web back end. Good times, so fun.
I don't even know what it is, but yeah.
Just like the web shop, the boring bit of the web shop, the admin side. It was dry. It was real dry.
Not front of house.
No. Okay. No. I could have been in the shop, but then it's just like a shop assistant.
Okay.
No. It's a concept shop, I think they call themselves.
But would you have preferred to work with people and being like social?
In hindsight, probably yeah. I just needed any reason to leave London.
Would you still do it? This is just a question out of the blue. Would you like to work with people?
Oh, with people, yeah, I absolutely love working with people.
Okay.
1,000,000%.
Talking and like
just chatting at people.
Okay. I know.
No, it's interesting you asked that. So, when for sort of a decent amount of time since I've been over here, I've been working in service. So I've been working with food, drinks, and people, obviously. And the customer service side of thing is really fun, I gotta say, even though it's physically demanding, the job itself. Like, some part of me sometimes does miss that, like, energy that you get from dealing with people.
Are we talking about, like, restaurants, bars, wine shop, or wine
Yeah, so
bars?
it was a bit of a mix. I was primarily first in the beer industry, and those beer locations had...
We've been in the same...
We've been in said industry.
We had the same employer.
Employer,
sorry.
Good times.
Yeah.
No, hey, I had a good time. I genuinely had loads of fun. So I wiggled around. It was quite a big company, so I wiggled around a few of their locations. So yeah, primarily.
Internationally also, right? Because you mentioned you also you went back to London to work in this pub.
Yeah, so there was a bit in the middle where I went back to London to upskill, essentially. But we can get onto that. Shall I say that now, or are we saving it? How does this work?
You can feel free to say it.
So I work as a coach. I work with personal development and goal achievement. So when I was doing my education for that, I dipped a toe back in London, and when I was there, I obviously needed a bit of dollar, so I kept the beer job, but over there as well, which was good times. It was fun. It was really fun.
Okay. So, I've done also F&B in my life, like service in hospitality. I know literally everyone that I know expert moved in Copenhagen and started doing that thing because it's probably the easiest place because you are basically treated like shit, so people find the job easily but also leave it very easily. It's just like okay, let me try it. Oh, it's shit, I'm gonna leave it. So you started doing this thing, and then I think then you got to the point where you are now, as I presented you, with all these things, these skills that you have, these different aspects of your life that you touch base daily, doing a multiple range of things. Because I'm really surprised, but also happy that you follow each aspect, like the coaching as well as the research and the creative aspects with different things. For instance, with the podcasts, with the coaching part. But I want to know what does it mean to be a mental coach, or how you said before. I already forgot.
I love it. It's just the word coach.
Just coach.
Just coach. You can just stick with coach.
Okay. What does it mean? What do you do?
The only reason I specify cognitive is because I'm not a personal trainer. I deal with brains, not bodies.
Yeah, but it's still like not a muscle, but it's like a part of the body. Yeah.
So sorry, what was the question? I threw myself off there.
What does it mean to be a
coach.
coach that provides the services that you provide?
So I am helping people better understand themselves so they can come to their own conclusions. So I never, ever, 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 ever would ever suggest what I think somebody else should do, because that's completely irrelevant. I'm me and they're them, and that's fucking good. We should be different people, and we are going to work in very, very different ways. So my role as a coach is I'm a facilitator. So I ask people the right questions so that they can come to their own conclusions.
Who comes to you generally? People that are uncertain about taking some decision in their life, for instance. We're not talking about, I mean, there is a different aspect, which is the mental health, which is treated by a different professional.
Yeah.
Which kind of problems do you help people with?
Who am I dealing with? So it is very much kind of future-centric. So as you rightly said, mental health. I'm dabbling in that a bit, but I'm absolutely not a medical professional. If it's a mental health ailment or illness, then you've got to deal with a therapist or somebody who's got that credential.
Sure.
But in terms of the coaching context, we're looking at future forecasts. So we're looking at where people are right now and where they want to be, rather than where they've been and why they are as they are now, which is what a therapist might do.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I'm helping people get places, achieve things, to tick boxes in life. So it might be moving country, or it might be working out if they want to do a degree or if they should get a full-time job, or changing career, or better understanding themselves when they're in a relationship and whether they're with the right partner. So it's all about individual people's relationship with themselves and how they want to show up in the world and the decisions they want to make to get to certain places.
Okay.
I feel like I made that more complex than
Yeah,
that.
no. It's actually no. It's very clear. Also, you use very simple words. So, thanks for that. It's very, but sounds like something that is actually very complex. How does it work? Like you have different. You make like appointments with your. I don't know if you can call them patients, but like not patients. It's like with people that you help or people that you that ask for your service. You have different. You make different appointments. You work like remotely also mainly?
Yeah, I work remote. So actually, I have no Danish clients at the moment. They're all international, primarily in Central Europe, some in the States, and in the UK as well. Now that's not Europe, weirdest thing ever.
In our memories, it still is.
R.I.P. So yeah, it's all online. And I also find that works better. If people are sat in their snuggy little home, in their pajamas, talking about something that's really personal to them, they are going to have we're going to have a much more real conversation together than if they're sat with their sort of fancy clothes on.
Like this
sitting up
formal state makes
Absolutely.
people's mind restrained or like...
Totally, yeah.
Okay.
And
So-
just reserved
Yeah,
massively.
yeah. No, I mean, I can relate to that. Like you make people feel they're at home and they may be just talking with themselves.
Yeah,
and getting
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great thing. I want to touch base first on the second aspect that we named about your career, what you're doing, which is this research on music therapy. I mean, I decided not to search anything about because I want to know from you. What is it about? How does it work? And because I know you also sent me a bunch of papers, and I was like,
Yeah, I'm not reading that.
I'm not gonna read this. I'm too tired to read like
Totally
science papers at night. No. I just want to chat with you and listen. What does it mean? What is it? What is this thing?
So I am looking at how we can use sound to improve well-being.
You say we because it's a collective you work with, or
So I'm currently employed by the University of Southern Denmark, and I'm have a very sweet professor that I work directly with, but I'm pretty much a one-man band.
shout out to your professor?
Yeah, shout out to Ollie. Represent. What a gent. We love Ollie.
Great.
So I'm essentially a one-man band, but we would hopefully in the future, I'm in the process of applying for some funding, and that's a big group of people that we come together to do it.
Yeah.
But essentially what I'm looking at is, sound and well-being, and a specific type of sound, which is both heard and felt. So what I'm really interested in is bass, and how bass frequencies can be used to affect our nervous system.
Oh, okay.
Very simply put.
Okay. Bass in terms of like vibration?
Literally vibration, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So similar, what I'm looking at is a technology that is quite similar to if you're stood near a speaker at a music festival.
Yeah.
You have that like vibratory feeling inside you.
In your guts.
In your everything.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
It's a great feeling.
I'm
though.
quite,
I love that feeling.
quite a big fan of that. I always like, I like this.
Yeah.
Why?
So exactly that. So I'm leveraging that feeling, taking it out of the festival setting, bringing it into a therapeutic, calming setting, and using specific types of sounds to help people change their physiological and psychological response.
Okay, what does it help with? Is with like mental health, like mental issues? Is with
It's a bit of a mix. Like the tech itself has been used for various different things. You can use it for, like, for instance, pro athletes use it to realign muscle groups if they've pulled a muscle. What we're dealing with, as you rightly said, is vibration.
Yeah.
So our bodies are vibration. Every little bit of us is vibrating at a different frequency. So what we're basically doing is synchronizing external vibration with internal vibration to make them
Sync
work.
them.
To sync them. Yeah, exactly.
wow, crazy.
So yeah, it can be used for muscles. It definitely has a massive effect on the nervous system, so it can get us into that lovely rest and digest response state, so feeling very calm.
And the papers you've written are all stating that these treatments actually benefit, have like a proven. No, it's like to prove that scientifically
so I've
they have-
basically been scanning people's brains and scanning their hearts and recording changes in speech patterns to understand how in people's brains and in people's bodies and dictators of the internal state like speech change relative to. So I've somewhat proven that a very specific version of this in this specific context has this effect.
I think this conversation could go long because I already have in my mind questions like which kind of vibrations, which kind of music. Like, would it also be, is it like some music that is produced by a person that has to be mindfully creating these sounds through, I don't know, synthesizers or, I don't know, any kind of machine or instrument that is able to create a certain sound. So you can say like, okay, this range of vibration help for this, so we need to create this sound which has a big chunk of, I don't know, bass frequency, like low frequencies.
Yeah.
And then you create these sounds.
Yeah. So it's essentially, I'm in the process of designing like the best case version of a soundscape that would do exactly that. So we're looking at, as you rightly said, specific low bass frequencies, but also other things like sounds of nature, which we know can affect us positively, like rain, wind, bird song. And also within those, we have various tones which we know can affect us positively. Some things like recurring rhythms. I'm sure you and some of the people listening would have heard of binaural beats, which is a form of brainwave entrainment. So basically like squashing all of these good stuff into one track and then getting people to chill the fuck out.
Great. I think I've seen something related to this, and it's very interesting. I also reckon myself, we all have like some certain music that hits
Yeah, absolutely.
differently.
Yeah.
You know, like we like some music and we like some songs. Sometimes we don't even know it's not like for the lyrics or for the genre, because maybe it's like I don't know, something very weird, but then we like it for some reason. And
Preach,
I can understand vibrations have this impact on how we feel.
Preach.
I mean, this is a big thing, but I really need to talk to you about stuff that are
There's other big things out there.
this big, like because as I told you at the beginning of the show, I would like to talk with you also about you, about your life, about your experiences. But I also wanted to talk with you because listening to your podcast, you recently released the 3rd episode of your podcast, which is we can sponsor that. It's like it's on Spotify.
Yes, on Spotify and Apple, it's called Hard Stuff.
It's called Hard Stuff.
Yes.
And that's such a great name because the first thing that I thought when I approached to listen to Hard Stuff was that it's hard stuff for sure, the content, but as I told you the other day, it's hard stuff also to talk. Like the biggest hard part of this thing is to decide and to be happy to talk, not happy, but like to be fine talking about certain topics. Like the last episode is depression, and probably depression is one of the most evasive? Or do you say like it's one of the topics that people escape from?
Yeah,
Most.
absolutely. People
No,
don't want
in-
to talk about it.
No,
Understand.
and it's the topic that people also don't like. It's the hardest thing to acknowledge when you are having that kind of issue.
Absolutely.
I want to know how. First of all, how did you realize you wanted to do a podcast, and why did you decide to do hard stuff, talking about these topics?
So actually, as you rightly said, it's very difficult to talk about stuff. It's so normal in this day and age to avoid vulnerability like the plague. If we show up as vulnerable, it's seen somewhat as a weakness, and in my opinion, that's completely wrong. Like, we need to talk about the fact that everybody's struggling with something. And that's what was going on for me. I was having a really, really, really difficult period in my life, and I was not happy. And it was actually, I was about to fall asleep one night, and then suddenly had this idea. I was like, hold up, why not talk about this and present it as something that we like, remove the taboo around these things, normalize the fact that this is okay. So in essence, for me, in that moment, it was more of a like therapeutic decision. I was like, I think this will probably be quite good for me. So I think I'm going to
It's
give that a
something
go.
you actually needed to
Yeah,
pull out.
absolutely. Yeah.
So as out of a need that you had,
Yeah,
you
100%.
decided to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
it something that could also help not only you,
But other
but
people.
make it publicly like available to
100%.
everyone, so that can help also other people.
Yeah.
And indeed, like listening to it has also helped me in a certain way. Like, as I have to say, it's a very simple podcast. It's very has a very simple communication, and the guests you had are also very well. I don't know. They really spoke about their problem, their issue in a very simple way. So it was very accessible in a way. So it's
definitely.
great. Well done.
Thank you.
I have something that is related to this. Of course, it's something that comes because you are now like these aspects of your life are very clearly visible through your like social page, no, your Instagram page. I really like it, and it's very it's a very clear. I wouldn't say a display because it's just like it's very diminishing. It's a clear statement
Yeah.
of what you do, of what
Yeah.
you like. You can really see all these aspects that you have in your life. But first of all, how do you use your social, and how do you think? Because this is a question that will come after. But how do you think the social media have affected also like our behavior today in terms of like mental health?
Absolutely. So I think, yes, very much so. I think you're on the money. I definitely use the internet as a space to like talk about my feels. And I think actually going back to that document, that was what I was doing then and what I'm still doing today, but on social media. Somewhat again in the space of why I set up hard stuff, just to again talk about stuff that's difficult and let people know that they're not the only person going through it, and there's the relatability there. And also, it is somewhat therapeutic for me. It does make me feel better to just put something out there and sort of get it out of my brain space and make
Are
a
you-
pretty picture and put it online.
I reckon that social media, I've been for me, but I see also around for people. It's a vitrine, right? It's how you present yourself to the world.
Yeah.
And somehow this thing has created, I don't know if in everyone, but for me, and I know also for many other people, it's also a source of stress.
100%.
And it's like everyone is there. Everyone has this like, how's it called, like business card,
Yeah.
basically, you know, that it's visible to everyone. So I can always see and track everyone else in the world and know exactly what they're doing, how they're spending the money, how they're developing their like personality, their careers, like LinkedIn, for instance. I hate LinkedIn. For me, it's like
LinkedIn. I have to do it though. It's part of
is
the gig. It's so
yeah,
annoying.
it's the negative pinnacle of
Yeah.
human interactions, and I hate it.
Yeah, it's
But
all a facade.
It's crazy. It
Yeah.
makes me feel so depressed.
Yeah, yeah,
Even
yeah.
having a job and being like happy in general, like just makes me feel so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the question is, do you think that this is like also like the social media are part of this moment of the society where society is so unhappy,
Yeah,
so
I-
stressed, and
Absolutely. I think you're completely on the money. I think a level of insecurity like no other is like bubbling and brewing and continues to build from things like social media. And at the end of the day, what is happening is it's so much easier to compare ourselves to each other. Like, a lot of people will wake up and the first thing they'll do is they'll get on social media and be looking at someone in fucking China living a better life than them. Like, that's ridiculous. They've just woken up. Like, that's insane.
and you don't decide what you're gonna look at. No? So
Exactly,
you don't know you're
exactly.
bound by
Yeah.
things that somehow will change your mood or will like
100%.
make you think about like projection of yourself, right?
Million
So
percent. Yeah.
question. Is this and that is a question that I asked you. And I don't know if it's a smart question or if it's a dumb question, but it's
There are no stupid
is this you can already say that. Is it a projection of the outside inside of like yourself? So looking at things that happen outside that you interiorize that give this big feeling of, we can say that, of insecurity, which is a huge part of this moment of our times.
100%. I definitely think that insecurity is rife, it's on the rise, and it is very much to do with the fact that comparison is readily available to everyone at their fingertips 24/7. Whereas before all this stuff, it wasn't possible. We just couldn't do it. It wasn't a way for it. So I think that's definitely part of it. But I think a biggie that is part of the problem is this thing of sorry, you just distracted me because I looked at the clock. Sorry, insecurity, comparison, control. The big thing that we are struggling with today is this feeling of all of the things that we have no control over because of the fact that we have access to information, which we didn't have access to before.
Yeah.
So when it comes to insecurity and comparison, what we're basically focusing in on is what we can't control, like things that are completely out of our remit. And that comes down to a psychological feeling of safety. If we're talking like genuine psychology, there's this thing called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is essentially a pyramid. You know it, exactly. Starts with physiological needs like basic food, water, heat, all those things, and filters up into psychology. So you're dealing then with belonging needs, love,
Personal
self-esteem,
self-esteem.
there comes in the insecurity piece. And then right at the tippity top is self-actualization. So in order to get to that point where you feel like you're resonating from the right frequency with yourself.
self-actualization.
Yes, self-actualization. So like the pinnacle of you, the best version.
Do you agree with that pyramid?
Very much so. The only way that you can get there is by wiggling your way up. But in the mix, just before the self-actualization piece, is this thing of the insecurity thing. If we're feeling insecure, we cannot get to that point. We need to have these sort of levels of psychological safety in order to get to the best case version of ourselves.
But do you reckon that like this insecurity is also caused mainly by, I would say, I'm talking about my personal point of view, and I always resonate with that to understand somehow, because I see many people have kind of the same problems that I have also, like struggling with, for instance, how much unsafe is to live nowadays, because you can have a job, you can have a well-paid job, but still you have to struggle because, I don't know, rents are incredibly high, or buying a house is so much fucking impossible.
Absolutely.
And then we're dealing with this moment of time where we work, we use all our energies, and then at some point we are exhausted and we don't have the time to appreciate anything because we don't have time, and we don't have enough money to use to invest
Yeah.
in our happiness,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so true.
And I feel this is like, I mean, for me, this is a big chunk of my, like, the insecurities that I have every day.
Yeah.
It's like, it's literally a non-feeling insecurity in the sense of not feeling safe.
Yeah. And I think also that's very much this thing of you just sort of like a nuance to it there with this sort of capitalist society in which we live, which is basically telling you to grind, work as much as humanly possible to make money to spend on things which we're being told we need to make us feel better.
But that's partly influenced by social media, right? Because it's like
And
modern
it's literally
mass
resonating from
media.
insecurity. Yeah, 100%.
It's the modern television, no? So we
Yeah.
see stuff, we scroll, we have like sponsored stuff, and then we talk about skiing, and then the next day we have a pair of ski on sale somewhere.
100%, exactly. So it is
At
very
the-
much. Sorry, go.
No, it's connected to that. There was this part about, I don't know. Also, in theorizing this thing, I asked you the other day about the idea of suffering for in order to be able to appreciate something, right? I mean, I relate this thing from my Catholic education, and I can relate that to with all my Italian friends, or also other people that I know that have this, maybe had a family with a big Catholic education, and there is always this strong belief that you need to kind of gain everything, and you need to suffer, and then only if you suffer you can actually slightly enjoy something.
I think it's a really interesting one because suffering, historically, as you rightly said, through religion, through culture, worldwide, it's been very normalized that suffering is almost like the default setting. And even when you come into Buddhism, it's still the same thing. Like, suffering is omnipresent. It's going to be there.
We are surrounded
We
by
are
suffering.
like, life is suffering, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
people
yeah,
say.
yeah.
Love those people. But the interesting thing is, we are constantly trying to find things to do to stop that suffering. So be that excess alcohol consumption, or drugs, or eating loads of food, or other more healthy things like meditating or yoga, and kind of pulling ourselves out of that sensation of suffering into a different space. And I think it's really interesting that we are subject to, and will always be subject to, the sensation of suffering. So I guess what I'm then doing with the podcast is just saying, yeah, this is reality, but we can learn from that stuff. Like, there's some really shit stuff going on world over, both for individuals and collective groups of people. But when we tune into that suffering to try to better understand it, then you can gain so much from it. Even on a sort of like big sort of more existential level, like obviously there's so much suffering going on in the world, which is incredibly difficult to navigate and deal with. And people like, for instance, Viktor Frankl, who was subject to being in a concentration camp, he was going through a similar, like, really existential disaster. And if you read through some of his work, it's incredible, the things that he's managed to pull out of that suffering, how difficult that was, and how he was able to sort of twist that into learnings and growth and nuance. So even at that really extreme level, it can be done. It's just, obviously, you've got to have a lot of drive to be able to do it.
I know it's impossible to say, but what is the strategy to navigate through hard times, like the times we're living right now, where we have uncertainty, we have wars, we have the pinnacle of capitalism hitting hard, we have plutocracy, we have right wings, extreme right wings going. Like, these are all things that I'm struggling with every day, waking up and dealing with, which makes me feel very uncertain about the future, and make me feel stressed, but also like unhappy in general,
Totally,
suffering, right?
Yeah, 100%.
What would be your strategy? I'm having some free consultants here.
I'm going to charge you up. Comes back to control. 100% it comes back to control. So there's this concept of this thing of the sphere of control. So if you think of it as there's three circles inside each other. So you've got one in the middle, which is the control that you have. The power and the capacity to control things is in that circle. Then the one slightly bigger than that is your circle of influence. So you do have an influence and some level of control over that space, but it's not nearly as much as the one right in the middle there. And then the one on the furthest on the outside is the space of control where you can have concern for that, like you were experiencing this thing of, okay, the world's gone wrong, fuck,
That's
but
really
what can
nothing.
I do about
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
That's the space where it's definitely worthy of your space and time and energy to think about and consider and see what you may be able to do. But expecting to have a level of control over that is problematic. That's when that stress comes in, because then you just physically can't. It's not humanly possible.
You think you can control that, but at the same, it's like a realization of being harmless.
100%. Yeah. So I think leveraging in, looking at what you do have capacity to control and what you can do about things really helps take the edge off some of the bigger, hard-hitting stuff that is out of your remit. And can I do
You have all the time
within this 1 hour?
in the next 7 minutes. So great.
one thing that I think is really, really useful that I use, that I kind of just like from, various things learning along the way, I've picked up and sort of made in my image, which is this kind of obscene concept, but I think it might be useful. It's basically this thing that I've told myself that I have my own back, I've got my own body, and I've got my own bubble. So I'll talk you through them. My own back is the psychological stuff. Of course, it's lovely to have supportive people around you, and everybody needs them, myself included. But being on my own team and listening to my internal dialogue and better understanding myself and being mindful, all of those things come under having my own back. Having my own body
Is the structure.
So the structure, so we're talking psychology. The back.
Yeah.
The back
Yeah.
psychology?
Yeah.
I don't know. Body, obviously that's physiological, so we're dealing with physical health and fitness, getting enough sleep, eating the right food, all of that stuff. And then bubble, that's where control comes in. So that is the space around you, the environments that you're in, the people that you bring into your life.
The things you do every day.
Absolutely, the things that you are exactly, your day to day.
Yeah.
So having that and being on my own team for those three things has, for me, been really, really useful to help with that uncertainty and that insecurity and feeling like everything's gone a bit wrong, which arguably it kind of has.
Yeah.
Back, body, bubble. I think for me that's really handy.
That's a nice kind of way to resemble everything. I reckon we literally burned every minute we had. I'm really happy because we went through very, very beautiful things.
Yeah, thank you.
But
Thank you for chatting.
you had also to play like literally 3 or 4 songs. Now that we don't have literally any time to play the songs, so I'm gonna put you on a very hard position.
Okay,
to
let me choose.
so that you choose one song, one
One song.
track that
Okay.
you want to play. Maybe we'll have time to play another one.
Okay.
But I wanna play this song, come back, say goodbye to everyone,
And then say we got time.
and then maybe we can play another track.
Okay.
But choose the one that you think it's the best.
This track is very much in the space of what we've been talking about in terms of my sensation moving over to Kopi and having a feeling of like liberation and excitement and fun. And that's why I want to play it.
Is it this one?
It sure is, my friend.
Just give it up. Gets hot enough. Just give it up. Yeah, just give it up. Love like dancing. Don't hold back. Gets hot enough. Take your chances. Don't ask why. Just give it up. Circumstances. Things in life can make it love like dancing. Gotta let it go, just give it up. Gets hot enough. Just give it up. Can't make it up. Just give it up. Gets hot enough. Just give it up.
And we're back for just a brief goodbye. As always, the time is never enough to talk about everything. I'm also very happy because it means that we've been throwing in great energy and we've been talking about great things. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode.
I enjoyed myself.
Thank you, Charlie, for coming and for contributing with your content to this program. I want to remember to everyone, on Spotify, your podcast, Hard Stuff. You have another episode coming.
They're going to be coming out every Wednesday morning. There's 10 episodes. We've got 7 left for this season. And then if people like it enough, then I will maybe make another one.
Great. Thank you, everyone who listened in and came in. I'm going to leave the decks to Giuliano. Hope you had fun and see you next time.
Just give it up, circumstances. Things in life can make it tough. Love like dancing.